Hi, I'm Brittaney Kiefer. I'm the European Creative Editor at Adweek, and I'm here with Vicki Maguire, the Chief Creative Officer at Havas London. So today we're talking about why it's time for the ad industry to embrace the B Corp movement. Now, Vicki, in 2018, Havas London became the first major ad agency to become a B Corp certified company. Can you tell us what that actually means for people who don't know, and why is it important?
It's a huge deal, and I didn't realise how big a deal it was until I arrived here. Basically, put very simply, it's a set of articles and beliefs that we have to, as a business, sign up to. We have to change our articles in Companies House and stuff like that. But in essence, it says that we agree to put people, planet, and profit on an equal footing. So if you can imagine, it affects absolutely every single thing that we do, every behaviour as a group, as a business, the way that we interact with each other, the way that we hire, the clients that we work with, the clients that we don't work with. Absolutely every single thing in this building and in our group is affected by that.
And I understand Havas actually just got recertified, so you have to do it every 3 years.
That's right.
It's quite a long, involved process. It's a legal process. It's very detailed and very thorough. So when you say people, planet, and profit are on the same footing, kind of talk us through what that means on a practical level. So since we're at the AdNet Zero Global Summit today, what does planet mean? What are some of your planet-focused initiatives?
You know, you're right, we have just been recertified, and it's no mean feat. We're independently kind of like accredited. We have to do, they go through absolutely everything. And it's the small things, but it's the small things that add up to the big things. So, for example, if you walk in to our reception, you're not going to be given a plastic bottle of water. Yeah, everything in our canteen from our suppliers who supply our kind of like our fruit and veg or whatever, they have all been traced to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So I think there's about 1,800 people actually in this building. So at the end of the evening, we used to throw like loads of food away. And now not one piece of food is wasted. If it's edible and within date, then it goes to a lot of the charities around the King's Cross area. If it's inedible, it actually goes to, be turned into fertilizer for a lot of the city farms around where we are as well. So if you go to the toilet and you flush, that's rainwater.
Really?
We've got a livable roof. We're solar panelled, and every single scrap of paper is reused hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Yeah.
And I think that we are something like 95% plastic free. And the thing about getting accredited every 3 years, we will only get our accreditation if our scores have improved.
That's interesting.
Year on year on year.
Yeah.
So it's a massive undertaking, and we have a whole group of volunteers that basically keep us true. But it's not just a nice to have. It's literally, because we are independently audited, it's fundamental to the way that this building, we act within it.
So those are some of the environmental initiatives, which sound great. And for such a large organization to undertake those and look after those daily behaviors is really important. Talk to me about what are some of the people-focused initiatives that you have to think about if you are a B Corp.
I came to Havas for its B Corp accreditation. I'd got to an age where I started to, especially in this industry, on a bad day, we sell stuff to people that they do not want or need, if you like. But small behaviours can lead to big behaviours. I was looking for a company that shared my values, and I was getting increasingly kind of aware of my footprint.
Right.
And, and the state that I would leave the world. I know that sounds really profound, but, And then, finding out about B Corp and finding out that Havas was B Corp accredited. It's not just a talent draw, but literally when you are here, it affects absolutely everything. So sickness pay, mental health and mental wealth days. We have a brilliant paternity policy. It's been really hard over the pandemic to kind of, we've had, I think everybody's struggled with some kind of mental health, which is why we build in mental health and mental wealth days. Everything from kind of like maternity paternity. The big one for me, menopause. Oh my God, that's amazing to find a company that actually recognises and values women of a certain age and will do everything that they can to make sure that we are comfortable going through that life stage. That's massive for me.
So does that mean there are formal policies in place for each of these issues that you're talking about that means that employees don't have to fight for support in those areas?
The biggest thing for me is you don't have to ask. Yeah, they are there already. So yes, they are formal, but it also affects how we behave towards one another. And it attracts a certain type of person. There is a generosity of spirit with the people that we work with, a feeling that you're part of something. And that's really important, because in the industry that we are in, it's so easy to think that you can't make a difference. It affects how many planes you go on. There's absolutely no reason for me to get on a plane, especially the way that technology has moved at speed the last 18 months.
So you kind of alluded to it, but you started at Havas as CCO right before the pandemic started.
That was great timing, wasn't it?
So when you were deciding to come here, that you would have talked about the fact that the agency is a B Corp and what that would mean. Now that you've started and you've been in the job for a little while, how has it affected how you actually do your job and your working life?
So being a B Corp not only affects who we work with, it's who we won't work with as well. We realise that it's not just a nice to have, it's part of our articles now. We've signed up to it. So from everything for me to sharing work, where I would usually get a load of sketch pads and rip everything up and put it on the wall, there's no need to do that now. That's an old behaviour that I've dropped as soon as I walked in here, because it's wasteful. And it's down to the foods that are in our canteen, even the cab company that we use, absolutely everything. You can be assured that every supplier, every production company that we work with has gone through the same processes that we've gone through to be able to be a supplier to a B Corp. It's ridiculous. As soon as you get accredited, you're basically starting again on your re-accreditation. And it's really, really satisfying to do, because in our personal lives, we try to do as much as we possibly can. We're very, conscious of the energy suppliers that we use. We're conscious of, how many trains versus planes that we take now. We're looking at buying electric cars and things like that. And sometimes you can feel part of a machine when you turn up to work, because people at a different level are making choices that aren't necessarily the choices you would make. But here, planet, profit, and people, you can feel that you're making a difference when you walk in the door, as opposed to just recycling when you go home.
I'm interested when you say that it affects who you won't work with in addition to who you will work with. So how does that come into play with clients? Because advertising is a client business. There are a lot of clients who need to undergo some of these changes as well. Does that mean that you're having to make more difficult decisions about what clients you'll take on, or the conversations you have with your existing clients? Like, can you encourage them to also do some of these steps?
That's the most exciting thing, right? And leading by example is a huge motivator in this industry. There are some killer brands that are already B Corp accredited. Danone, Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's, The Guardian, and loads more. And we make a big deal. It's actually, although it is a huge undertaking, the rewards of being a B Corp pay back tenfold. We're making a positive or a negative difference, and I know which side I want to be on. Because it's such a big part of who we are and how we behave and how we turn up in the world, we use our B Corp accreditation as it's almost like a calling card. So there are loads and loads of our clients and our prospective clients that are like, well, tell us more about that. When we do our creds, when you're accredited for a B Corp, you get a little piece of wood that tells you that you're B Corp accredited. And we always kind of like add that to our awards and we go, actually, yes, look at this, we've won all of these, but this is the award that we're most proud of. And then they're like, oh, wow, tell us more. And off the back of that, there are a number of our clients now that are going through that B Corp accreditation.
Yeah, that's good, because I think a worry among some people who hear about something like this is that it is just that little calling card or that certification you have in your window, but it doesn't actually change anything. And there's a lot of pushback right now against the advertising industry for working with companies and businesses that are bad for the planet and bad for people. So how is that affecting the kind of conversations you have with clients?
Honestly, I was the most cynical amongst us. The kind of industry we're in. Loads of agencies like to jump on bandwagons, but we cannot have, our desire to get to net zero as a nice to have. It's absolutely fundamental to the success of our agency, to be perfectly honest. Which is why we do make such a big deal about it. But brands will now come to us because of it. So I know it's a pain in the arse to do, and it may look like a huge undertaking, but it does pay dividends. Clients want to hear about it, and now it's a massive draw. And it's not just a massive draw, it's the right thing to do. Not just in our industry, but in any industry. And I think talent and clients have started to look now. When you think about your next move, people aren't looking for moves just for money now. They're like, okay, who are the brands and who are the places that will actually kind of like mirror my beliefs and behaviours.
Yeah.
I've found that in the conversations that I've had with talent that I'm talking to bring them into Havas.
Yeah,
That's a massive thing, isn't it?
It's an interesting shift because, years ago there was a shift towards people wouldn't work on tobacco companies anymore.
Yeah.
And there's some people now who don't want to work with gambling brands or
fossil fuels.
So fossil fuels. Now we're talking about greenwashing, and companies need to be responsible for the planet.
Yeah.
So how does that affect talent and how you recruit talent and how they change their behaviors maybe?
This industry, our work doesn't exist in a vacuum. Yeah, so any smart business will read the room. To be perfectly honest, there are seismic shifts changing and you want to be on the front foot of that. You want to be on the right side. Talent is starting to asking about it. Clients are starting to ask about it. This is one of the quickest ways of fulfilling our net zero promise. And it's huge for us. It's massive when it comes to talent. I think the Ad Net Zero stats alone, 74 to 76% of people that work in this industry question the amount of stuff that we can do better. Yeah, and over half of them have considered leaving the industry completely. It's not an easy fix, but it's a very simple thing to do. Get on the right side of history, because it's not, like I said, it's not a nice to have. Cultures started to change in our favour. Talent are asking now, what do you do? So there was loads of things that I would not do, but nobody's talking about the stuff that they do. And I think that was really important.
Yeah.
I remember the first day thinking, I remember having a plastic bottle and I think they're going to wrestle this off me. Went and literally found a recycling bin and kind of got on the good side. These little things, these little behaviours across these areas like people, planet, profit, really do add up in a very, very tangible, measurable way. And when you put measures around it, when you can see and feel and profit from the little behaviours that we make, then if every agency signed up in the next 5 years, then we are going to get to where we need to get to so much quicker.
So we should talk about an elephant in the room, which is production, because advertising production has traditionally been quite wasteful and not the most environmentally friendly practice.
Yep.
Have you changed how you're actually producing all of your work?
We've definitely got an eye on production. We are working hard to build sustainable production, which is one of Ad Net Zero's pillars. They've come up with this thing called the carbon calculator, which we use on absolutely every single production now, just to make sure that it's keeping us true. And there's loads of little behaviours that we can change. But it's not just about what we want to do voluntarily. All of our metrics, all of our behaviours are independently verified. So it's not just a nice to have. These are fundamental to the way that we come up with ideas, the way that we produce them, the shoots, the way that I approach, getting on a plane for a meeting. All of those are really, really questioned now. And that can only be good for the industry. When I'm on a shoot, it affects the partners that we work with. We need to have a look at the carbon footprint of every shoot that we do, and that's a little thing to even, not even taking plastic cups on shoots and things like that, plant-based foods. It's absolutely fascinating.
Well, at the end of the day, we're a creative industry.
Yeah.
And I think people hearing you talk about measures and all these processes and steps you have to take in paperwork, that doesn't sound very creative. Do you see a link between this movement and creativity?
I think we have to use absolutely every single thing in our armour. I think, yes, it looks like it's going to be a hard slug, and it is. But our B Corp crew are a set of volunteers that are passionate about getting us to the next level, and their passion rubs off. Our clients now are, putting in briefs that talk about sustainability. We've just done some great work with EDF on things like e-vehicles. We're working with Vanish, talking about kind of like love your clothes longer, because the average person wears something 6 times and then throws it away. But we're really bad at doing the work ourselves, and I think that if we just turn all that talent, all that creativity that we've got in our industry, and we turn it back on ourselves, which is like, right, okay, on a daily basis, from from an agency point of view, from an industry point of view, what can we do creatively to get ourselves nearer to net zero? I think that would be a brilliant brief to put into, regardless of whether or not you want to go through, to get to yourself B Corp status. That's something that every single agency should be looking at and thinking, right, okay, what's our brief?
Yeah.
What's our message? What can we physically do?
Because it's a big industry, so all those things could add up and make a big impact, right?
Seriously, you think of the amount of people that work in this industry. You think of the amount of travel that we do.
Yeah.
Just questioning that. You think of every cab we take, every plastic bottle we pick up on set, every person we cast. Every weekend we ask people to work. Every time we keep the lights on in the building. And even here, every time we flush the bloody toilet. And I think we have to find very creative ways of fixing the behaviours that we've slipped into as an industry.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So I think that whether it be the notepads that we use in meeting rooms now, the adopting of new technologies that will stop you getting on a plane needlessly, looking at how we cast people in our ads, where we shoot those ads, how many people go on those. This is probably one of our most creative, fertile periods.
Yeah.
And if we all just thought about that a little bit more, then I think we'd hit net zero a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's essentially a big creative problem. How do we
It's
change the way
massive.
business is done?
And we are creative industries. We should be at the forefront of this.
And I wouldn't argue that that industry is or has been historically at the forefront.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about B Corp, what do you want to say to other agencies? What would you have liked to have known before going through this whole process of getting certified again? What do you think agencies should know about it?
I know I've kind of laboured the fact that we have to do all of these things, but I'm only, I'm doing that because I'm proud of it. I'm like the proud parent. You know what I mean? Oh, we've done this and this and this and this and this. But once you start on that journey, you realise those bad behaviours that we take as the historic ways of doing things, those little things, they add up to good, but if you don't do them, they're making a really big difference to the kind of the length of time that we're going to take to get to where we want to get to with a net zero. So I would say it's worth the effort. It does, and it pays back. Seriously, it pays back not only in the kind of people that you attract, the well-being of your workforce, it pays back the planet, and you can sleep a little bit better at night, which I didn't think I'd say in our industry, but also it pays back from a profit point of view, because it is a massive driver for us in terms of new business and attracting businesses to us.
And I would think it's going to become even more of a driver.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Seriously. So if anybody wants to know any more, anybody wants a kind of like, okay, well, how difficult is it? Then just send us an email.
Yeah, it'd be great if there was an open dialogue and it wasn't just, certain agencies bragging about how they have the status,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
could help each other.
That's it. No,
Yeah.
no, it's definitely not a closure. I mean, this is proper open source. We want as many agencies and even individuals to badger their agencies to sign up. It's because you'd be surprised at those, sticking something on the wall with a bit of blue tack. You know what I mean? Grabbing a plastic bottle. All of those little things add up. And I never thought I'd hear myself saying that, but it makes such a difference.
Well, thanks for telling us about it, and hopefully this is just the beginning for a lot of agencies.
Hope so.